Hey everyone, finally I have created Terraform code that deploys my entire infrastructure and I don't even have to modify even a slightest thing in my AWS services, right? So this is my initial template, right? This is my initial voting application. So as you can see, it is actually changing. Yeah, so I have clicked it in total 6 times and now it's just showing 50-50. Yeah, so the entire infrastructure mimics pretty much this whole thing, the diagram that you have seen before. I'm gonna upload the code, but before I do so, I'd like to show you the key important things that I actually learned. So whenever you're creating Lambda function, it actually has to create a zip file. The zip file contains your Python script that you have to specify in a separate file, in a .py file. Then it actually uploads it and unzips it in your AWS Lambda GUI console. Also, if you have to specify certain things that Lambda works with, like let's say SQS name, DynamoDB table name, if your Lambda function interacts with other AWS components, you have to specify the unique names in environment like so. This is the key thing, key insight that I actually learned. Yeah, so because I specified this in my variables file, right? I specified them in my variables.tf file. These things are well known, and it roughly corresponds to, yeah, it roughly corresponds to environment variables, and they actually, yeah, they're all here. So all of this stuff is actually basically directly matches to this thing. Another thing that I learned is that whenever I have to upload files as objects to S3 bucket, I have to create them like so. And let's say I'm uploading my index.html, but inside my index.html there is a certain hard-coded value, like for example the backend URL of my API gateway, the API endpoint of my API gateway, right? So I have to somehow dynamically refer it, because this is dynamically created. Whenever I deploy my Terraform application, it's dynamically created, so I can't know it in advance. I have to just specify it as a variable name, and later on I have to use this feature that's called template file. Template file is a feature that allows you to do so. So when I upload it, I just specify a file like so, and it's going to become index.html. But I have to name it index.html TPL. So my actual index.html, I have to name it index.html.tpl. Then I upload it here and I actually specify this variable that will be referred inside my this one inside my HTML file, right? And the same thing works for another one. Also content type is media type that have to be specified explicitly. If you don't specify it, the S3 service somehow will not know that it's actually CSS and it will not apply it. So this is very important. You have to specify content type so that it knows that this is actually a CSS file and it has to be applied. If you don't specify this thing, if you skip it, it's not gonna know, and your website will just show the content of index.html. It will not be styled properly. And finally, my variables.tf, the one that I mentioned before. This one basically contains all of the hard-coded values. They are all placed in one file, neatly organized. So now you can, if you want to just change the Yerjan vote name to something more meaningful, you can just change it in one file. So this one file contains all of these hard-coded values, right? Basically just the names for the most part, right? The names of DynamoDB, the partition key name, the DynamoDB field, the queue name, the notification service name, the API gateway name. So you can just give them more meaningful names if you want to. Or you can just change the default region. And because this is just one place where you have to specify it, then you can just change region here. You just change this one line here, and it's going to be deployed in a totally different region. So yes, all of these files will be uploaded to my GitHub, so you can just press one button, and you will have the entire infrastructure deployed on AWS. Also, don't forget to specify your access key and other credentials. And I guess that's about it.